ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुकुं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Wonderful. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. We are on 30th verse, but this is the section we are working on, which is actually talking Hare Krishna, Mataji. The goal of sacrifice is freedom from misery and loving service to the Lord. So, this is the chapter which is specifically talking about transcendental knowledge. From our childhood to the eldest age, we acquire so much knowledge. Depending on what age factor we are in the childhood, how to get the attention of mother. When we grow up, then how to make friends, and then further education, the career, work. At work, we try to learn so many other things so that we can cope up with whatever happened in the industry. And then we go old, then Hare Krishna. When we grow old, then we start talking about the medicines. Which medicine is for what? So we have to continuously acquire knowledge. But this chapter is explicitly focused on transcendental knowledge. What is that knowledge which takes us beyond the cycle of birth and death, so that we don't have to do it repeatedly again? This morning, Maharaj was giving the class, so I was holding the phone for him for the bhajan, so that he can sing from there. So he was telling, he said in Hindi, "Thak jao to ek haath se dusre haath mein," like you switch the hands if you get tired. And I had a realization. I'm like, Maharaj, haven't got tired changing so many bodies. What to talk about just talking about the hands? It's unfortunate reality. We have no idea how many bodies we have changed and how many times we acquired that same mundane knowledge based on whatever birth we have taken. Because dogs doesn't have to go to the school, but they still have that knowledge where to find food, how to take care of other things and all that stuff, right? So there is always a hunger for survival, and for survival we have to acquire the knowledge. But this is talking about the transcendental knowledge which is beyond the platform of the body. So, to one of the important principle of transcendental knowledge is to actually doing a sacrifice. Now, sacrifice is such a common word. Throughout the day, one or the other way, do sacrifice. For an example, sometimes we sacrifice our sleep, sometimes we sacrifice our eating, sometimes few things which we like, we have to sacrifice because now that food is not the right food for me. So we do sacrifice. But this is talking about the sacrifice which is going to help us transcend. So that's what we are talking about. So goal of sacrifice is freedom from misery. um just 3 days back, or 2 3 days, we saw this bad weather because of the fire in Canada, right? So when we talk about, we haven't caused anything from that perspective. We were not responsible for any of that from direct perspective. However, we went to call it, even indirectly actually, because forest fire can trigger even two bamboo trees coming together, and the fire can kickstart from that perspective. So whether we want or not, whether we think that, oh, you know what, material world is nice, there is no suffering, but from this is very crystal clear that the misery is caused by the material nature cannot be avoided actually. In my personal friend, this anyway, I'll just pass it on. So that's where we are on this session 33, and we are specifically covering, we are starting from verse 30. So I'm going to go there. I just wanted to give, because we are meeting after a few weeks, so I thought I'll give a quick glimpse here. Thank you for joining. So we are starting from verse 30. So I'm going to go there and we will read it together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarve api ete yajna vido. Yajna shapita kalmasaha. Yajna sistamrita bhujo. Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. Volunteer for translation, please.
I will take.
Hmm.
All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere.
Very nice, Prabhu. So it says, all these performers, we are talking about the devotees or people who perform these sacrifices, who know the meaning of sacrifice. Very important actually. um, before you both joined, and we were just talking about, when we hear the word sacrifice, from morning to evening, from our birth till the day we die, there are sacrifices we do so many times. Mothers know it better than anybody else. There is so much to do. But here we are talking about a specific sacrifice which is not only on the platform of body, but it is on the platform of the soul. Understanding the need of the soul is an important factor. And when one understand the meaning of the sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reaction. It is very important to understand why we do what we do. And I realize this statement is really deep, because I realize from childhood to the age where I'm in, I don't know how many times I ask this question to myself: why am I doing what am I doing? Really important question actually. Why am I doing whatever I'm doing, whether I'm taking care of kids, whether I'm taking care of family, whether I'm taking care of my job? There is no deep reason behind it. Oh, you know what, where am I heading towards? Just like that. There are hardly any reasons for that. But to understand really what we are doing in especially spiritual life, we dedicate so many hours to actually practice spirituality. Unless we know why am I doing what, unless the why is not clear, one will not give the importance to that. You agree? For an example, when the health is in chaotic situation, and there is a medicine given, or there is a procedure given, for an example, that you have to do yoga. Now that instruction was given for so many years that, oh, yoga is good for health, but now when it becomes critical, the why is become a most prominent one, and then we give the importance to that one. Otherwise it always remains on our back burner. Whether, for an example, cholesterol is high, so yearly checkup you go, and then these guys give you a number. Oh, your cholesterol is shooted up. So far I never thought about fried food, but now I have a completely different thought process on that part. So why is very important. We have no idea what kind of sins we have performed in our previous lives, and when that result come. Sharing my personal story. So 3rd of July I'm here attending a retreat, and I go back home. and I have a voicemail. I missed a call. It says this is a fire department calling. Your house was on fire and we wanted to reach out. And I'm like, okay, this may be a junk call. And it told me property number. Anyway, I couldn't call back, but I realized the next day morning that there was a lightning which struck on my deck in Canada house, and the whole house is burnt into ashes. Why am I saying that is I have no idea what I've done in my previous lives. Right now, when the results of pious activity come in, we don't realize everything just goes smooth. The job is going well, family is doing well, health is doing well, financial issues are not there, relationship issues are not there. But when the quota of sinful reaction, like we have, you also do vegetation, so there are weeds growing. We don't realize until they grow up to a substantial level. A lot of time the grass or weeds just grow and you realize, oh, this is not a regular plant, this is actually a weed. And then you use a plant identifier and you identify, oh, this is a weed, I have to get away with that. So karmic reactions or sinful reactions, when they come on us, now we realize, man, I have to really learn how to live life based on the scriptures, because it's whatever comes to us, it comes based on our karma. Nothing comes just like occasionally, we call it as. It's a reality of life, whatever comes on that front. And having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance towards a supreme eternal atmosphere. Developing or practicing spirituality is an urgency. It is not an optional thing which we have to practice. And the more we actually realize earlier, it is better for us to actually, when we go through a difficult situation, we actually can understand what the situation is all about. So we have been talking about specifically in this verse 30, what are the results of sacrifice, which is cleansed of sinful reaction and advanced towards supreme. Not again and again coming back to the cycle of birth and death, taking a rat form, a cat form, a dog form, or maybe a human species form, thinking that the purpose of life is to sense enjoyment. So purpose of performing sacrifices, what is a common aim? To control the senses. Now this is very important part which I want to bring in. When we talk about control of senses, we are not saying you should not enjoy, but enjoy based on the scriptures. Understand what is right and what is wrong. If we do not do that, we have no idea that we are incurring sin. Until the result come, we don't even realize, oh, did I do it? I didn't know that this is wrong. So we have to do a sense control. Since sense gratification is a root cause of material existence, why are we here? Like we talk about, if we know why behind everything, we understand. So why are we here? Why am I taking birth? Oh, we've been talking about almost a year now. Why am I here in this material body? Why do I have to go to birth, old age, disease, and death? Very simple reason. I want to do a sense gratification which is not aligned with scriptures. And that's why I am here in this material world. The second part is the sacrifice helps one to become cleansed of the sinful reaction of material existence. So the question is that, am I going to be condemned because I performed something wrong? Is that, oh, I am supposed to suffer? That's not the point. The point here is that even if I did something wrong, I still have a way to correct things. Not that continue the same thing so that I can keep indulging into that same problem and suffer the results of it. So this is important, that sacrifices help one to become the cleansed of sinful reaction of material existence, which is whatever we have done. Prabhus and Mataji, we have no idea how many sins we have performed. And the holy name which we chant towards the end of the class, just Hare Krishna Maha Mantra one round, just one mantra has a power to eradicate all of our past sins, many, many lifetimes. Can you imagine what is the depth of this statement? It says, this is, I forgot the exact place where it is mentioned. It says, the holy name has such a power to eradicate all the sin you can't even dream of making. The amount of sins we can dream of making, it has power to actually eradicate all that stuff. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically came. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not come in Satya Yuga. He did not come in Treta Yuga. He did not come in Dwapar Yuga. He specifically came in Kali Yuga. Why? Because in Kali Yuga, the challenge is that we have short memory. We have no we are lazy to practice spiritual life, and we have so many other commitment. We feel, oh, that's not possible for me. Spirituality is just a side goal. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, no problem. You be at your comfort level and chant the Krishna's name wherever and whatever position you are in. And that will give you the same result which you could get in any of the previous yugas, even performing tapasya for thousands of years. Don't have to do any of that stuff. Just one mantra can award you the same result. And that's the benediction. So that's what is mentioned. And the third point is the gain transcendental knowledge and gradually devotional service. When we understand again the why, how do we understand the why? When we acquire the knowledge, we understand what knowledge is important for me to actually get through that. That's the time we actually come to the devotional service step. The other side, which is last quadrant, which I'm talking about, advancement in life, one becomes happy and opulent in this life. So not that you will be victorious in the next life, that you will get out of the cycle of birth, but if you live the life as per the scriptures, your current life will be much more easier, and you'll be able to live happily even in this material world. And end of the life, we enter into the eternal kingdom of God. And again, there are two mentions here based on what is our consciousness. If we think Krishna is a person, then we take the second quadrant, which is becoming associate of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we think God is the light, then we enter into the Brahman Jyoti. So this is the part on that. So translation we already covered. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions in that all of these knowers of sacrifice destroy sin through sacrifice. And I'm going to just go to the next one. What is the primary result? By the perfection of jnana, then finally attains Brahman, which is actually in this Brahman, we are not talking about Brahman Jyoti, understanding Krishna. And what is the secondary result? So first and foremost thing, we get out of the cycle of birth and death. The second part is the enjoyer of the nectar of remnants of sacrifice, such as food, and the attainment of enjoyment and power. So we live life as per the scripture. We follow peacefully in this life. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, sense gratification is a root cause of material existence. Unless and until one is situated on the platform apart from sense gratification, no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. A very strong statement, but a bitter truth. I'll put it that way. Right now, when we come to path of spirituality, we understand spirituality is important. However, I feel I still have to take care of my family, and that still remains my priority, which is fine. But we have dual life. Now, there is, when I say dual life, I'm not saying two purposes in life. What I'm saying when I say dual life is what is the consciousness behind what I'm doing, which is again why I'm doing that stuff. So, if I'm understanding whatever I'm doing on job front, family front, if the purpose is, my dear Lord, I want to give my children, I want to live the life of Krishna consciousness, and I have to maintain this body, and I'm just doing this for that so that I can go back to Godhead and I can serve you eternally there. Great. That doesn't remain material. It becomes spiritual because the consciousness behind that, I am working, I'm taking care of these family responsibilities so that I can actually please Krishna. If my goal is thinking that, oh, you know what, I'll become a CEO of the company, I will earn so much salary, and then I will have this car, I have this bungalow, then that is material. That means one feet of mine is in one boat, which is material life, and another feet of mine is in spiritual boat. Now, as long as it flows together, good. You can still continue putting 2 feet in two different boats. But with the current, when things started separating, you will have to decide, where do I want to put my feet in. And that's why there is a varnashram introduced in earlier times, which is unfortunately not being followed. At a certain part of our life, we leave our duties and we actually give dedicated life to practice spirituality. It is designed for that purpose. At a certain period of time, I understand enough is enough. I'm about to die. Better now I focus on my spiritual life. That's the point. So this platform is in the eternal atmosphere or Brahman atmosphere. Before I go to this slide, any questions or comments? Okay. So all, oops, something is wrong here in this thing. When we perform all sacrifice, I'll try my best. Help one to become cleansed of the sinful reaction of the material existence. One becomes happy and opulent in this life, either merging into impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just summarizing that part. At the end, um, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, which means performing sacrifice is the way to actually come to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Can we move to the next verse? Is that okay? Okay, so 431. Nayam lokosti achnasya kutto anya kuru satama. Let me see if, yeah, that's the one. Can you read the translation, please? Please, Manaji.
O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next?
Ah, Krishna is clearly telling to Arjuna, sacrifice, transcendental sacrifice is an important part. If we do not sacrifice, we cannot live peacefully in this life, neither in next life. What is the meaning of that? We are going to read it further. So, what you see on the left hand side is the cycle. What happens is, if I am, so there are three modes of nature which we have been talking about: goodness, passion, and ignorance. A person who is living a life of ignorance, which is on the top, their life is sinful. Why? Because whatever activities they are doing, they are against the scripture. And what happens because of that? The reaction to the sinful life, which means either I dragged into a lower form of the life, or I have very difficult life living. A lot of people actually struggle to a large extent. I was speaking to one of my close friend actually. She was mentioning about that she went through bankruptcy, and she was telling how painful it is, and I was just thinking about it. We hear so much when some people go through that, but when until it comes to us, we don't even realize the intensity of the problem statement. Like a lot of us here, cancer is a common disease right now. It's a lot of people go through that and unfortunately leave their body. We understand that this is painful, but unfortunately the reality of the world, until it comes to us, we don't even realize the intensity of it. And that's how the reaction of sinful life is. When it is our quota, when whatever activities perform, when it comes on us, it's very painful. And at that time you realize, why did I do this? For an example, eating sweets. I have a problem eating sweets. When we eat sweets, then one develops the disease of sugar. And now, if you live a controlled life, again, there could be a number of reasons, but if I live a controlled life, which I'm not doing right now, then I would not come to this destination where basically I cannot eat the sweets at all. Am I making sense? Or, for an example, if I have certain disease from that perspective, say, for an example, high cholesterol, let's take that example. So I'm not allowed to eat anything. How about if I have a controlled life from that perspective? And this is the point which is brought in. When someone, how one becomes humbled, humility comes in two ways. One is a voluntarily humility, second is forced humility. We become humble. Either we realize we are just a part and parcel of God, which is a very less population, I would say maybe 0.1%. 99.999% of the people become humble when they are put into the situation. And the same people behave in a different way. Who was this personality? Give me 1 second, just trying to think through that. This was, I guess, Alexander the Great. He conquered so many countries, so many provinces. No, not this guy. I forgot who was this guy who actually could not attack on Marathas. Any idea who was that? One of this Muslim, yeah.
Aurangzeb.
Aurangzeb. Thank you, bro. Sorry, I just distract. Aurangzeb. That, yeah. This guy could not conquer Marathas. He conquered every place, but he could not conquer Marathas. And his situation was really worse. You know what happened to Aurangzeb? Anybody knows?
He died in the, what I know is that finally in the camp surrounded by.
Who was Aurangzeb's son?
Yeah, Aurangzeb's son was, forgot the name.
That's even I forgot the name. I was just trying.
His son kills, right?
Yeah.
Son, he dies of disease, but he was very sad at the moment.
Then what did I attain? Coming back to this point, that's the point which I wanted to come. Thank you. Didn't want to go in that, but I like to recollect that this thing. It's always good. And just getting old. Unfortunately, in fag end of our life, a lot of realization come. That's what I heard from people. I sometimes go to old age homes and all. These people realize, what did I do in my whole life? Same money which I earn. What is that helping me? I'm just living here in a old age home. Nobody is there to talk to me. It's a big problem. Loneliness is a big problem in America, actually. And what happens with the reaction to the sinful life? We dragged into material existence again, again another birth, again start all over again. We have no idea how many lives we have wasted. And when we are come here in the human form of life, not just attaining a human form of life, but I'm so grateful to all of you that you understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. You're here dedicating your time to understand, my dear Lord, I goofed up in my previous life. Let me not do it again, which is an important one. And this is where the Vedas help. Why? Because they teach you how to live your life. And when you learn how to live your life, in this life also you become peaceful. And next life you don't get into the cycle of birth and death, which is extremely important. Extremely important. Right? So, what is it? When you are tired from karma, Vedas recommend moksha. Right, sorry, let's start from the right hand side. Is actually how Vedas help us here. So what does Veda talk about? Explains the path of religion. So Vedas, in specific, four Vedas talked about dharma, artha, kama and moksha. What is dharma? Dharma results into artha. So what do you do? Path of religion or different kind of sacrifices automatically solves your economy problems. For an example, yajna, we get enough food and milk. We have no idea, but the rain has to happen, the grains have to grow, and then only we can eat the grains. So someone is taking care of that right now without we realizing that. Okay. And then when we perform the dharma, you get the artha. From artha comes the kama, which is when the body is fully satisfied. Next is to satisfy the senses. Vedas prescribe sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. This is just covering one part of it. Sense gratification is multiple levels. And at the end, one is elevated to the platform of moksha. This results from performance of yajna. Hence, yajna very important for happiness, not only in this world, but also in next life. Am I making sense so far? Can we move to the next slide? So, what is it? The life of Krishna consciousness, highest kind of happiness achieved through promotion to the spiritual planet by practice of Krishna consciousness. Now, one say highest kind of happiness is what? Yesterday or 3 days before there was a this weather. We were not able to go out because. So, what kind of highest happiness is that? Practical thing, right? How it is conflicting with the thought process, and I want to clarify that part. This material body is given by material energy. Material energy is designed to give us suffering. Soul never suffers. So whatever difficulty we go through, they are only at the platform of body. And again, body is of two type: gross body and subtle body. Gross body are the implications which actually cause into external body, headaches, sickness, and all that stuff. That happens only on the gross body perspective. But there is a bigger problem beyond that. Is the problem of the mind, right? And those are the problems which are very difficult to handle from that perspective. So what is the cycle of appearance of desire and its reaction is a very important, which is being talked about, right? Klesha is the distress and the cause of distress. What is this is talking about the karma cycle here. So what happens is we have ignorance, the root cause. What is ignorance means? Not knowing what is right thing to do. Ignorance does not mean, oh, I did not go to the school here. No. Ignorance here means we do not know the real meaning of life. And what happens from that? The bija comes. What is that bija? We spoke about this word specifically. The material desires, which are also called as vasanas. Right? So they trigger based on the avidya. Which means what? We develop propensities to perform certain acts. And what happens on the bija? If you keep doing that, or even if you do that once, every action has a reaction associated with it. So which means what? Because if this is material desire, not spiritual, there is a papa associated with it. What is very important here is that even if I'm so called moralist, just want to spell this out, very important part, I still get papa out of it because it's everything is driven by material. There is no God in picture, right? And from papam, what happens is a suffering. What is suffering? To be specific, is birth, old age, disease, and death, and three type of miseries. What are these three type of misery? Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika. Miseries, Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Chandra Bhagwan ki Jai, Nitai Pati Pawan Gauravi ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Misery is caused by body and mind, misery is caused by other living entities, and misery is caused by material nature. But we don't have a control over that. And what is the avidya? The ignorance of one's relationship with Lord Krishna or eternal servant. And papam is two. Very important. Just want to specific. So papa means the sinful reaction. One is called as a prarabdha karma. What is a prarabdha karma? Manifest reactions. What I'm going through right now is manifest reaction. Anybody goes through difficulty in their life, these are manifested, which means whatever wrong activities I did, now I'm reaping the fruits of it now. And what is the aprarabdha? Very important, unmanifested reactions, which means what? They are under the earth now. Like the weed has to come, not that the weed is not there, not that the sinful reactions are not there. Like a lot of time people say, oh, you know what, I live a pious life. See, I don't have any health issues. We have no idea what comes on our way, which is called as a prarabdha. We have no idea what they call it as, when you clean the house, there are two ways to clean the house. You completely, like you have some guests coming to your house, you completely clean everything. The other thing what you do is a shortcut. Take everything, dump it, or put it under the carpet. We call it as, right? So both looks clean, is that right? But there is a difference here. What is the problem with the second? The moment you lift the carpet, everything is visible. Or you open the, yeah, exactly, and things falling out. Oh, Krishna! And the guest goes exactly at that mode, and he opens the door, and everything fall. And then you feel so embarrassed, saying that, oh, I wanted to hide, and now he sees a bigger picture. This is called as aprarabdha, not visible on the surface. It is there, right? Which is important. And now in aprarabdha also there are two sinful, this important, sorry, this is deep but very important. So even in aprarabdha, one which is a prarabdha, what does that means? Direct physical or emotional suffering. Reactions, this is what is describing is the detailed meaning of different kind of suffering. And what is aprarabdha to kutam? Indirect suffering. What is indirect suffering? You have a family, right? They are in connection with you. You are not physically going through, but they are going through. You are part of the same problem statement. I am physically all right, but I have my family member who is sick. For an example, for a mother or father, when the child is sick, it is more painful than being actually ourselves sick, because we are so this thing thinking that, "Arey, what has to be done?" And this is what is talking about the kutam from that perspective. I felt this slide is important. Any questions or comments on this one? Okay, thank you. Can we go to 432? एवं बहुविधा यज्ञा वित वितता ब्रह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान् विद्दितान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे. Can we read the translation, please? Go ahead, Mami.
All these different types of sacrifices are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of food. Knowing them as such, you become liberated.
First and foremost thing, we need to know the purpose of sacrifice, which we understood so far. Now, is it clear? The purpose of sacrifice is clear. Hopefully, it's really graphic. I don't know. For me, it is super graphic, to be honest. What is the sacrifice? And what happens if we don't do that? That is clear from the previous slide. Now this question is talking about what kind of sacrifice, to be elaborate on that. And you see different pictures on the top. You see Dhruva Maharaj, who is actually a 5-year boy performing the tapasya, is also sacrifice. You also see a Gyani who is going to the forest, sitting and meditating on that. You see two of them, one, and then you also see a king who is performing the prescribed duty based on that. You also see a student going to the Gurukul and understanding what is the purpose of scriptures is all about. And you see on the top there are two kind of people, one are grastas and another one are brahmachari, who are engaging everything in connection with Krishna. right? So that's what we are going to elaborate on that. So sacrifices are born of different type of work and culminate in transcendental knowledge. So why variety of sacrifices? Because to suit the different type of worker, not everyone wants to be an engineer. Similar way, people have different tendency, and based on the different type of worker, they are deeply absorbed in the bodily concept. For an example, work either with the body, work either with the mind, work either with intelligence. Some people are on the bodily platform, they need tapasya or they need the sacrifice on bodily platform. Some people live on the mental platform, for them work has to be done on the mind, and some are on the intellectual platform, but all of them sacrifices are ultimately recommended to get liberation from the body altogether, because we don't want to be in this body. That's the problem statement. So sacrifices, what is the purpose of all sacrifice? To achieve complete knowledge, to gain release from material miseries, to engage in loving service unto the Supreme Lord. This was covered in previous slide. Without elevation and knowledge, sacrifices are on material platform, which I briefly mentioned is, if we apply any knowledge without the sacrifice, it's on the material platform. Mystery behind different sacrifices, different type of sacrifice with the knowledge is better, sacrifice without knowledge is material. That's why transcendental knowledge is important, which is the title of this chapter. So sacrifice takes different form according to faith of the performer. Very important. Coming back to the beginning of this, unless we know why I am doing, why am I doing, unless I know why behind what, let me put it this way, right? um our faith will vary, our faith will vary. I still know a few people, even after practicing spiritual life, when difficult phases come in their life, they ask this to God: why me, why me? But isn't it the purpose of the knowledge that we understand we have performed various kind of activities based on which we are suffering? Is that right? So why me is, when I did that activity, I never asked why me. Is that right? Am I making sense? For an example, when I came to America, um, I was driving from Chicago to Pittsburgh. We had a retreat there, and I was driving, and I didn't know much about it. I just know driving here. So I was on the highway there, maybe in Ohio only. I don't remember exactly. I just forgot that the highway. So I was seeing the speed limit as 75, but there were all these guys driving at the speed of 90. So I said, like, in India, nobody cares about the speed limit. That's how it is. So I drove at the speed of 90. Just few months after I got the license, and the cop was behind me, and he took me to the curb and he gave me a ticket. So the first thing which I asked is, I was just so this guy, but I was so called innocent. These guys are also driving at the speed of 90. You don't give the ticket to them. Why me? Right? He said, because I saw you.
Yeah, we will see that.
This is, now what will I say? At the end of the day, irrelevant of what these guys are saying, maybe they will be caught up some other time. I don't care about that part, but I had to pay the ticket. At the time, we can't say why me. Because I knew I was given the laws. Speed limit is given, man. Why are you running your intelligence? 75 speed hai. You know that stuff. And when you get the driver license, you go through the exam. It says follow the rule. In residential area, drive at the speed of 25. Right? Multiple times I got the ticket. Same problem. Speeding. I'm like, okay, I don't think so. And this guy will come from nowhere and then I'll get the ticket. I learned in a hard way, not one time. Can you imagine what rascal I am? Multiple times. And every time I'll get it in Ohio only. Someone told Ohio is a ticketing state. They just claimed it. It's like title.
Michigan plate only.
So whatever. They told me also on that. But I still made the mistake. So I can't say why me. I knew the laws. I should follow that. And if I say I don't know the laws, sir, your problem. That's why this knowledge is given. When one's faith reaches a stage of transcendental knowledge, performer considered more advanced than simply sacrificing for material position. We have one devotee in our temple. She came to Krishna conscious class first time. She attended our temple president Yogal Kishore Prabhu. He was giving a class. She attended first time. She liked it so much. She went to the teacher. She said, "How can I grow in my spiritual life?" Prabhu told her, "You chant 16 rounds." First day, chant 16 rounds. She said, okay. Next day, she started chanting 16 rounds. I still see her, and I can't stop myself talking about her. What kind of faith she has? 2 hours commitment without even knowing why should I chant, without even knowing the real meaning of Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, without understanding the deeper meaning. She just took it. This is the point exactly. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, performer considerably is more advanced than simply sacrificing for material possessions. One realizes what has to be done. Our in our temple, two brahmacharis are there. Really, from education perspective, top notch guys. Really top notch guys. They renounce everything. One of the devotee, he was a robotics engineer, and that is I'm talking about 10 years back. So he came. He had a super awesome salary. He quit and he decided I want to give my life to Krishna consciousness. I'm not saying any one of you to do that stuff. Please don't take me wrong. But he understood the purpose of life. I don't want to really get into the cycle there where I get earn and then take care of big house and handling and all the family and all that stuff. And at the end realizing, oh, all this is not actually taking me away from Krishna. It's not easy to have so many things handling and on top of it remaining Krishna consciousness because your time is divided into so many activities. He decided I'm going to quit and he opened a temple in Grand Rapids. Opening a temple is a huge thing. We comfortably come here. We have pujaris here. 8 times someone has to offer. Someone has to wake up the Lord at the time. Someone has to open the curtain at the same time. Someone has to offer the same sweets every day. And this is not a one-day activity. Even as a parent, when the children grow, they just this is a lifetime of commitment. And there are devotees actually who give whole lifetime to Krishna consciousness, whole lifetime to their temples. They were born and they are there. So this is very important. The last one is without attainment of knowledge, sacrifice remains on the material platform. Why it remains on the material platform? Because I don't know the why behind it. And that's why this Bhagavad Gita understanding is important, because if I know the why, then what I'm doing become a substantial aspect of our life. Am I making sense? Unless I understand this material body, why did I get it? And how do I get out of it? I will never actually understand the problems with material life. Similarly, like I said, when someone goes through, a person who smokes and he get a lung cancer. Now he reaches to lung cancer. Now he understands why you shouldn't smoke. That's one way of understanding. But isn't it painful? Because you don't have, even if you understood, there is no way to reverse it most of the time, right? So what do I do here then? Better I use this knowledge and don't land up into that path. And that is material knowledge I spoke about, which is non-smoking. What is transcendental knowledge? Is taking us out of the cycle of birth and death. Make sense so far? Can we move to the next verse? You are with me so far? Okay. 33. Shreyandravyamayad yajnat jnana yajna parantapa sarvam karma khilam partha jnane samapyate. Can you read the translation, please? Please go ahead, Maraji. 34.
33, right?
30, 33. Yes, sorry, you're right, Maraji.
O chastier of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in the knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pratha, all sacrifices of birth culminate in transcendental knowledge.
Very nice. So ultimately, what is Krishna telling to Arjuna? The sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice on material possessions. Because again, don't want to repeat that step. When I know the why behind what, then there is a meaningful result based on that part. Right? For an example, why do I want to go to IIT or IIM? Unless the why is not clear, I will not really put my really heart into it that I want to get into IIT. I am just picking an Indian example. I don't know what is here, or Oxford or Stanford, because I know what I'm going to get out of it. That's why the why is clear, and that's why you put your effort based on that. And this is what is Krishna telling to Arjuna. So I'm going to open another presentation which is covering verse 34. So let me open that, Krishna. Okay. Okay. Can you see this? Now this is starting a next session, which is next section, which is from 434 to 38. We will not be able to cover everything, but let's cover verse 34. Awaken by surrender, service, and inquiry. Now this is going a little deeper. This is talking about the surrender, sharanagati, how to actually surrender by service and inquiry. This is what is being spoken. So what you see in verse 34, just a summary of what is going to come further down. What is 34 is talking about? So far we covered how to achieve transcendental knowledge, the fruit of transcendental knowledge, who can successfully achieve transcendental, the symptoms of one who has successfully applied transcendental knowledge to work. So now first, these are the four things which are going to be covered. How to achieve? To receive transcendental knowledge, approach and surrender to a self-realized spiritual master with submissive inquiry in service. Very important verse. And we will read that. And then the second is, if you do that, what is the fruit? And then the third is, who can achieve that fruit? What are the, and how can I measure my success? And what is the conclusion? And that's where the chapter is going to end. Are you all with me? Can we go to 34? तद्विधि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः. Translation, please. Go ahead, Navji.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and learn service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
Thank you, Madhuri. We were just talking about a person who smoked. He got a lung cancer. He learned this by his realization. You understood? There is also a saying, and I forgot that saying, please forgive me about that, that one should go to the elder and learn from them. Why? Because they have gone through the experience. They went through their life. And what they can give us is the realized knowledge versus the theoretical knowledge. Like, for an example, someone got the illness, a critical illness. He goes to the doctor. That guy says, oh, you know what, without insurance, I'll charge you $1 million. It's a critical illness. I don't have $1 million. So the student who is in the medical college, he's in final year, he comes, oh, you know what, I will treat you for free. What will you do? Huh?
You go to the free.
You'll go to the free? You won't go. For why? I know from financial perspective, but I won't go because I may die. Why am I working on hard on that? Okay, that's fine. Because this guy has a realized knowledge, right? He has done those surgeries before. So I know I'm going to the right thing. Like I'm going through a difficult time and I'm looking for a litigation lawyer. I have to find out if really a guy who can really work on my case. I can't just go to anybody who is just like that because it's a situation where is hundreds and thousands of dollars I'm just losing from that perspective which is coming on me. So here, what is this verse is saying? Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, render service. The self-realized soul can impart the knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Because they have seen the truth. A person who wants to climb the Mount Everest does not directly wake up in the day and then, oh, I will go. What does he do? He finds out who actually did that before. Can you teach me the tips and tricks which I have to be mindful about? In today's world, they get to go to Chat GPT. If I want to go to Mount Everest, what should I do? And it will give me. But this is all based on data. It is not all of a sudden. Of course, there is a concept of hallucination there. I'm not getting into those things. Let's stick to the topic here. But the point here is that it's all based on data because there is an experience behind it. Someone has put in that data, right? From that perspective. Similar way, whether in material life or spiritual life, we need a guru to guide us. For an example, I don't go to this, I cannot get a degree. Again, things have changed. I need a guru who will teach me how to actually go through that. Like for an example, in chemistry we go through the I forgot the terms also altogether, but you read the theory, and then after that you go to the lab, that you mix two hydrogen and one oxygen, that forms the water. And now it is imprinted on you because I've seen this works, right? Because this is not just a theory for me. Similar way, my dear Prabhus and Mataji, what scripture says is a realized knowledge, that the body is the cause of suffering. We don't realize that. That does not mean that statement is false. Am I making sense? Now, for a person who goes through that, ask him, this body is the cause of suffering. He'll say, yes, I can stamp also. Give me a whatever $1,000 note and all, I can stamp on that this body is the cause of misery. But when it doesn't happen to me, I don't want to believe. But that does not deny the statement. So all statements which are mentioned in scriptures are specifically designed that they are universal truth. I told it multiple times, but I still want to bring that in. I was living in Pune, had a fantastic job, no relationship issue, no health issues, no family issues. My job was, my boss was completely supportive to practice my Krishna consciousness. In fact, I would preach him also. So this guy would also come for programs sometimes. And every morning I would go to my mentor, my counselor was staying just few houses, like from here to my current house, whatever it is. So I would go every morning. We would have morning program and we would read Srimad Bhagavatam. And one fine day I came across this verse, Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. I don't remember the exact words. This world is full of miseries. But I am a practical person. Please forgive me about that. I just don't accept that statement as it is. So I asked my mentor, Prabhu, I understand maybe Srimad Bhagavatam is only covering certain part of the audience. I don't fall into that bucket. You understood what is a universal rule and what is a rule candidate which applies to certain people. If you go into that, then only, like litigation law is not applicable for everyone, but you get into that, then you actually need a litigation lawyer. So that's not a universal law, right? Here, Srimad Bhagavatam says this material world is a dukhalema shashvatam. And we are all living in a material world. No, it doesn't apply to me. I'm confessing here. This is 2014. 2013, 2014. 2015, I came in. From that day, I have every moment, every breath realization this material world is a dukhalema shashvatam. So many aspects just can't tell you in words, because this is a universal statement. Not that because I doubted I'm suffering, not like that. It is all because of my karma which is coming through it. But the point here is that the scriptures are universal statement. Spiritual master, the guru, does not become a guru just like that. In today's world, anybody can become a guru. We are not talking about that guru. We are talking about an authentic guru. They don't just become guru like that. They have realized that knowledge. I keep speaking about my spiritual master. He wrote a book called A Journey Home. When you read that book, what he went through to reach to a certain stage where he is now. Or we have another Maharaj who actually came and he was staying with us for 2 weeks after I went to Grand Rapids. What they went through, beyond imagination. One may say, why do you practice spirituality then? But they went through it, and where they are now, wow, what a realized knowledge they have. That's why accepting a guru is absolutely must need here. Why? Because this scriptural knowledge can have to be understand how do I apply in my life. So that's why we need a living guru who actually teaches us, because not I when you go to the doctor, not everyone gets the same medicine. Is it right? Based on the disease and based on the intensity of disease. Even if there is the same disease, you may be on stage 3, someone on stage 1. It's a different medicine, different regime. Why? And doctor knows it. I can't just go to ChatGPT and just follow that stuff. This guy knows it based on the experience on that part. Similar way, the living Guru knows where I am, where do I stand, and what part of transcendent knowledge and how do I apply that in my life. That's an important part, which is what is important. And that's why one has to actually submissively surrender to Guru. So we will quickly go through this and then we will end with this. So what we see is Lord Krishna is the original spiritual master, and he gave this knowledge to Brahma, to Narada Muni. Narada Muni gave to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva gave to Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami gave to Sutta Goswami. That's how the lineage, disciplic succession came into the picture. Nobody can stand up and say, I'm a guru, and you will just start following. Hey, can you tell me who is your guru? Okay, your guru is so and so person. Who is his guru? You got to authenticate that this guy is correct or not. I can't just rely on anybody who's just standing all of a sudden and follow that. So what you see is path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord, which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. He does not manufacture rules against the principles of revealed scripture and never presents anything not to be found in Vedic literature. It has to be based on the scriptures. Books are the basis, or Vedas are the basis. Never claim to be God. Any guru who says I am God, that guy is a fake guy. Guru is a representative of God. Never contradicts teachings of Shastra or scriptures and other bona fide sadhus. Four bona fide sampradaya: Brahma Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Kumar Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya. These are the four authentic sampradayas. So when some guru is there, hey, where do you belong? You say, I do not belong to any of these. Sorry, sir. Out. You're with me so far? And then non bona fide path is manufacturing one's own process, is the fashion of foolish pretenders. Mental speculation, dry arguments, independent study of books cannot help one lead to the right path. And how to get spiritual understanding? Sorry, path of spiritual realization is how to get the spiritual understanding. Approach a bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession. Inquire submissively from the self-realized soul. Inquiry is very important. Not that just accept because this guy is saying. The inquiry is very important. Asking questions, clarifying is very important. But inquiry has to be done. There are two ways one can do inquiry. One is in a challenging way, and second is in a submissive way. Challenging way means I know it better. That will not lead us anywhere. For an example, when you take a vessel which is full of water and you try to fill the water, what happens? Spills over. The knowledge is like that. When the person candidate goes to actually acquire the knowledge, when he realizes I don't know anything, or even if he knows, he is humble enough to say that, oh, you know what, I don't know anything, and that knowledge flows easily. Versus I know anything, then that's a problem from that perspective, right? So that is what being spoken. So how inquiries are effective? It has to be submissive, and then one has to render service. In this regards, I will quote a story which is there from Ramanujacharya pastime, who is part of Sri Sampradaya. I will narrate that story. We will continue this verse next week. It's very important, and I like to stay on time. But very nicely, and I'll maybe quote one example, and then we will end with this. Srila Prabhupada's guru is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So when you see further down, there are gurus there. You see, the leftmost is Srila Prabhupada. The same Srila Prabhupada who's sitting here, there is one picture. The next person is his guru. The next person is his guru. The next person is his guru. And that's how the disciplic succession goes. So the last one on the there are six Goswamis who are standing. They are the associates of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. So that's how the disciplic succession comes. So Srila Prabhupada's guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was giving a lecture, and a very scholarly person came, and he wanted to find out the meaning of this verse, particular verse. I don't remember the verse. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I am busy for some time. Why don't you go and ask my disciples inside? So this person went inside, and when he went inside, the disciples were washing the vessels. They were doing some sevas. So this guy asked the question, can you tell me the meaning of this verse? They said, you know what? Absolutely, but we are doing this cleaning. How about if you have some time, you can assist us on that? He did. He helped them washing the vessels. After washing the vessels, he started leaving the temple. He was leaving. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked him, so did you get the answer? He said, yes. You're with me so far? Am I able to communicate the message?
Without even
Self-realization.
Self realization. Guru has a power to actually connect one, and through service, one can actually understand the deeper aspect of Krishna consciousness. In Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, there are two very prominent devotees, disciples of Ramanujacharya. I'm trying to recollect the names. Anybody remember? Dashrati, and there is another disciple. I forgot about his name. Especially Dashrati. I'm 1 minute over time, but I'm tempted. Maybe I'll tell it next year or next week. On that very beautiful pastime, very similar thing in how he attains the knowledge. So remind me again on that, and we will continue the verse 34. Shila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Samaveda Gaura Bhaktavinda ki.
Jai.
Any comments or questions?
And you were telling the example of when you were in Pune, you were very happy